Hello and welcome. For this training, we will discuss how to successfully complete the areas of service requirements for the CFC application. The areas of service was formerly known as the Attachment A, and it has historically been the most challenging part of the CFC application for charities. This training is designed to help our charities obtain the information needed to meet this requirement. The areas of service found on Step 4 of the CFC application describes the services that your organization delivered in its local zone, states, and/or foreign countries where it conducted its work. Services mean the real services, benefits, assistance, or program activities provided by the charitable organizations. These may include, but are not limited to, medical research and assistance, education, financial assistance, mentoring, conservation efforts, spiritual development, the arts, and advocacy. The good news is that CFC charities are required to submit the areas of service only with the full application, which is to be submitted once every 3 years. The caveat to this is if your organization changes your organization type, for example, switching from a local organization to an international one, or was not approved to participate in the previous year's campaign, then you will be required to submit a full application, which includes the areas of service. We will soon discuss how to determine if a full application, which includes the areas of service, is required for your organization. But first, let's discuss the 3 organization types and the requirements for each. Your charity's organization type corresponds to your charity's service areas and the section it will appear in the CFC charity listing. The list is divided into 3 sections: local, international, and national international. For CFC purposes, local charities provide services in the one CFC zone to which it is applying. National international charities provide services in at least 15 states and/or 1 foreign country. And international charities provide services in at least 1 foreign country. The 2 other types of organizations are federations, which must have at least 15 or more member organizations, and family support and youth activities and programs, and morale, welfare, and recreation charities, which are nonprofit, tax-exempt organizations that provide family service programs or youth activity programs to personnel on a military base. The reported services must have occurred in the local zone to which the charity is submitting its application. Local organizations must only report services that were delivered in the calendar year preceding the application year. For example, for the 2020 application year, local organizations must only report on services that were delivered in the 2019 calendar year. Services reported in other calendar years will not be accepted. Local organizations must report only on the services provided in the local CFC zone to which they applied. International and national international organizations have a 3-year period from which to report services. For example, for the 2020 application year, national and international organizations may report services that were delivered in 2019, 2018, and 2017. The charity is required to have provided at least 1 eligible service in the calendar year preceding the application year. For example, for the 2020 application year, all national, international, and international organizations must have at least 1 eligible service in 2019. International organizations must have eligible services in at least 1 foreign country. National, international organizations must have eligible services in at least 15 states and/or 1 foreign country. If a charity is using states to qualify, then its application should include at least 15 areas of service submissions. For each state and or foreign country, there must be an accompanying areas of service. At the sole discretion of OPM, areas of service submissions will be reviewed to determine if CFC eligibility requirements are met. OPM recommends that charities describe the how, who, what, where, and when for each service that it reported on Step 4. Charities that use this format have been found to be the most successful in properly completing the areas of service requirements. By answering these questions, it increases the likelihood that OPM will be able to determine the real services, benefits, assistance, or program activities provided by the charity. Let's cover what should be included in the service description. How? Describe how the services were provided or conducted. The who. Specify the recipients of the services, benefits, assistance, or program activity. Indicate the type of individuals, target population, or organizations that receive the services or benefits. If the services are provided by the applicant's chapter or affiliate or another entity, such as a support group, the schedule must describe the applicant's role in the delivery of the service. The what? Describe the services, benefits, assistance, or program activity provided or conducted with detail and specificity. Include the quantity, value, scope, and impact of the services or benefits. The where. Indicate the city and states or specify locations within the foreign countries where services or benefits were provided. For scholarship and grants, the location of the service or benefits is the beneficiary's residence. For memorials, museums, and public recreation facilities, the location of the service or benefits is the location of the facility or its program or activities. The when. Provide the dates on which the services or benefits were provided or conducted within the 3-year period immediately preceding the application year for national, international, and international organizations, and in the calendar year immediately preceding the application year for local organizations. Events that continue or recur should include year and frequency in which they were provided or conducted. In addition to making sure that your service description answers the how, who, what, where, and when questions, there are additional measures that you should take. The service descriptions should include past tense action verbs such as services delivered, awarded, rendered, and conducted. This allows OPM to determine that the services were received by beneficiaries as opposed to a description of the services that are available or the charity's mission statement. It is acceptable for charities to use abbreviations in their service descriptions. Each service description that you are submitted is limited to 256 characters. Given the restrictions, abbreviating words are useful. Just make sure that the abbreviations can easily be understood by OPM, and including the organization's history or names of staff members are not necessary. That type of information uses up characters and is not needed for OPM to assess if the organization reported eligible services. The next recommendation is for grant-making organization. If your charity is reporting on grant awards, a description must be included that helps OPM determine the services and or benefits delivered with the use of funds by the recipients. Web-based services are allowed, however, they have slightly different reporting requirements. Web-based services must provide service logs or other records indicating the geographic distribution of users in each state or foreign country. The organization must also demonstrate the scope of services received by users over the appropriate period immediately preceding the start of the campaign year. Reports that reflect only the number of hits or visits to a website are not sufficient to establish the provision of real services. In addition, 2 of the 3 following types of information must be provided: evidence that recipients have registered for use of the website, summary reports that document a customer feedback mechanism, evidence that recipients of web-based services paid a fee. Organizations reporting web-based services will be contacted by OPM to submit the additional documentation. Now let's go over the things that you should avoid when preparing your areas of service requirements. Avoiding these mistakes will help you with developing and submitting areas of services that meet CFC regulations. Each service description is limited to 256 characters. Please stay within the limit. Any information provided after the limit is reached will not be considered. The most common reason for an areas of service to not meet requirements is when the charity generalizes the nature of the activity or uses broad descriptions. Listing out services or programs such as healthcare, tutoring, scholarships, and food bank. Each service, activity, program, or benefit should clearly be described and answer the how, who, what, where, and when questions. Repetitive language will also not be accepted. OPM observes this mostly in the cases of national and international organizations when claiming services in multiple states or foreign countries. Repetitive service descriptions with or without different numbers of beneficiaries served and or monetary value of the services will not be accepted. Another common pitfall is using mission statements or describing services that were offered or available. None of these make it clear that the services were actually rendered and received by beneficiaries. OPM will not accept statements like mission statements because they describe what the organization intends to do or hopes to accomplish versus what was accomplished. Organizations cannot claim fundraising as a service or benefit. Such activities directly benefit the organization. However, organizations can report on how monies raised in fundraising activities were used to benefit the community. OPM will only accept the areas of service in the format laid out in Step 4. OPM will not accept services that were reported based on a fiscal year. Many charities provide services that reach entire families, and reporting of those services are encouraged. However, the number of beneficiaries should not count each member of the family. OPM considers a family as one beneficiary or unit. Another counting error is with animals. As you may remember from Step 3 of your CFC application, your organization is required to certify that it is a human health and welfare organization providing services, benefits, or assistance and activities that benefit human health and welfare. This basically means that your organization is a 501c3 charity, which also includes animal-related charities. The problem comes in when the charity counts the number of animals served instead of the number of humans that benefited from those services. OPM will also not accept as an eligible service only providing information to the media or production of reports and research. Charities reporting these types of services must describe the manner in which the beneficiaries use the information and the impact. OPM does not accept the Minimis services, benefits, assistance, and program activities. De minimis services are those that, in OPM's judgment, are too trivial or minor to merit consideration. Factors that OPM will consider in determining whether an organization's services, benefits, assistance, or other program activities are de minimis include, but are not limited to, nature and extent of the service, benefit, assistance, or activity, frequency, continuity, and duration, value of financial assistance awarded to individuals or entities, impact or benefit to beneficiaries, and the number of beneficiaries. For each local area, state, or foreign country that the charity is reporting, services must be more than de minimis in that location and for that year. OPM will not add the number of beneficiaries or monetary values across locations and reported years. Now let's talk about entering the areas of service. It's easy to know if the areas of service is required for your organization. Simply go to step 4 of your application, and if you are submitting a full application this year, you will see a message that states you are providing a full application this year and an area of service is required. If your organization is required to submit an areas of service, you will see a message on your application prompting you to complete this step. First, you must complete the certification statement on the page. It is different for each organization type. Read over the statement and click Yes to certify to the statement as true. Next, you will begin the process of entering your areas of service. Unlike the other documents you will gather, the areas of service is not an uploaded document. Rather, each service provided will be manually entered through a web-based form. Please have the service description, the location of the services, and either the number of beneficiaries and/or monetary value of the benefits on hand when completing the application. To begin, click Add Areas of Service. Each service should be reported as a different entry. Charities are not restricted in the number that they can submit. If your organization has 10 services, then you can submit 10 areas of services. Please ensure that each one completely describes the services reported. Multiple areas of services cannot be used to report on one service. After you have reported all of your eligible services and are ready to move on, click on Save and go to Next Step. For organizations completing verification applications, you will see a message that states that you are not required to complete the areas of service. Click on Save and go to Next Step. Once you're in the web-based form for local charities, you must either select Use Existing Charity Address or Use New Address to enter a different address. You must also provide the organization's dedicated phone number. For local organizations, you must enter the service explanation for the services provided in the calendar year preceding the year of the campaign for which the organization is applying. For example, for the 2020 campaign year, the service description must be for the calendar year 2019. The service explanation is limited to 256 characters. For each service reported, you must provide the number of people served by the service or its monetary value. The requirements are different for national and international organizations completing Step 4. For national, international, and international organizations, they have up to a 3-year period immediately preceding the start of the campaign application year to report services. So, for example, for the 2020 campaign year, national, international, and international organizations may report services provided in calendar years 2019, 2018, and 2017. For each state or country, you must click Add Areas of Service to report services provided in each location. Select the state or country where the services were provided. Next, provide the organization's dedicated phone number. For each service reported, you must provide the number of people served by the service or its monetary value. Once you are done with reporting all of your services, you may proceed to Step 5 of your CFC application. Applicants are highly encouraged to review CFC Memorandum 2018-09 CFC Application Standards for the areas of service for additional guidance on how to complete this requirement. Thank you for tuning in. Please watch the next part of the CFC training series, which will cover the organization's exemption status on Step 5 of the CFC application.